I'll never forget the first time I went to Christchurch Women's Prison. We were three of us in a team and we were presenting the first program around resilience and work confidence in the prison. So we were stood outside and it was a pretty bleak day. We were looking around the fence, which of course has all got razor wire all around the prison. There's a tiny little metal portal called a pinch point, which you have to go through as part of the security. Basically, we were shitting ourselves. And that's pretty much how I feel right now. But thank you, Nicole, for having me, Vitalina, for encouraging me, maybe putting my name forward. I am pleased to be here, and yeah, I hope that you enjoy what I've got to say today. But just back to that prison experience. So we went through the pinch point, we went through the security, we put on our earpieces so that you can hear everything that is going on in the prison. You've got to do this just in case things turn really bad. Break, break, break is what you're listening for. That's not good. So we get into the room for the first time and we're waiting with quite a lot of trepidation for our wahine to arrive for this first course. And in they came. And it was quite a defining moment for me because as they came in, I thought, oh, that looks like my sister's friend. Oh, that looks like my aunt. Oh, that looks like the woman from Pack and Save. You know, they were just normal people. They looked like you, actually. And what I realised was that these women were pretty motivated to be in the room with us and spend the next 10 weeks looking for hope and what the future might bring. I'm going to come back to the prison shortly, but that's just to get us started. I thought maybe I should tell you a little bit about our organisation. So, dress for success, not dress for less, not dress smart. We've been called everything and it on repeat. So, dress for success. I'm the first to admit dress for success is a bit of a strange name and doesn't really encapsulate everything that we do. However, it was based in America and they've just spent a ton of money on a rebrand, so I guess the name is going to stay around for quite a long time. So, it's dress for success. And as Nicole said, we're an organisation, not for profit. We support, build hope and confidence and empower women to take positive steps forward in life and in work. So we work with quite a number of referral organisations who refer women through to us, maybe about 50 to 60. They could be church groups, work and income, schools, universities, recruitment agencies, you know, just a huge number. And it's about supporting women at a moment in time. So last year they might have been fine, this year they're not fine. And we just pick up and work and help that journey forward. Look, we're actually part of a global organisation and that has some challenges, but generally it's got our head offices in America. That's possibly slightly the challenging part. But it's fascinating. I went to a conference last year and all 130 Dress for Successes from 15 countries were represented. And yeah, just learning what other Dress for Successes do is amazing. I was speaking to the manager of Mongolia. So yeah, we have a Dress for Success in Mongolia. That particular Dress for Success, they're up against such systemic built-in culture around what the expectation is for women, it will blow your mind. So women there, some of you might know this, but they are, if you have 4 babies, you are revered. You get an amazing badge, you're an award, you go to an awards ceremony, and you are, you're well looked after. If you have 6 babies, you get another badge. It's bigger than the first badge. You're more highly esteemed, and you may be able to take early retirement, and you may get incentive like a house. So that sort of thing, I mean, I know that we've got we've got big problems. We're so far away from pay parity, it is a joke. And, we're really waiting for this equality thing to kick in. But when I hear what's happening in Mongolia, I feel slightly better. Here in Christchurch, we've been operating for 23 years. And we've got 70 keepers of hope. Now, I have coined that term. Hope keepers, I looked it up, it's actually a religious sect, so we're not hope keepers, we're keepers of hope, and I'm the head keeper of hope, and our 70 keepers of hope are our volunteers. We've got a couple here tonight, actually, which is awesome. And we have a board and so on and so forth, as you would in a not-for-profit. I think the big thing for me with our Keepers of Hope is 3 key things, and those here tonight from our team will have heard this. Empathy, huge, of course, but no-brainer, you've got to have some empathy. Non-judgy, no room for judgment, bias, or anything similar in our organisation. But the biggest thing is resilience, because what you see and what you hear can be pretty intense. And in fact, yesterday we had a client who, her face many, many years later was still so scarred from the domestic abuse that she has suffered. Her arm is in a brace and she has permanent PTSD from that family violence. So she came to us for a feel-good dressing to, make life just a little bit more bearable. And that's what she had. It was such a positive and amazing time, and the 2 personal stylists that were working with her enjoyed it as well. And as soon as she left, they cried, and we do. We do cry a bit, but we hug a bit, and, there's some really good stories. But I think the thing about that resilience is we have to hold our stuff together so that we can support other women, and that's what we do. When they leave, we can have a wee bit of a sob. Not everything today is going to be doom and gloom. I've got some light-hearted moments as well. So who do we provide hope to? Well, I've got a list up there, and I'm not going to go through every single one. You can kind of see how it is, but I thought I'd pick a couple out. You're probably going, grandmas? There's grandmas up there? And for sure. So, look, quite recently before Christmas, we had a grandma in. She is looking after 4 of her mokopuna because there's nobody else to look after those youngies for her. So she came in for a feel-good dressing too, just to pick me up so that she could recharge and go back and look after those 4 littlies because there's nobody else to do so. Women's refuges. I'm not sure if you're all aware, but we have 5 in Christchurch. 5 women's refuges. We work really closely with ChCh, which is the women's refuge that focuses on our ethnic communities. So I guess, from my experience, I find that the women that are in safe houses or supported by that organisation, it's just even harder. You may not even speak English, little English or no English, and you've got not a single solitary person to support you here. Things have gone bad. About 18 months ago, we had a young woman who had been in an arranged marriage and arrived in New Zealand, and as soon as she arrived, she was shut in her room for 4 weeks, and her phone was monitored, her every move was monitored. And then at the end of the 4th week, her partner physically picked her up and took her to the front door and threw her onto the doorstep and what she was wearing. So when she was referred through to us, she just had what she was wearing, her knickers, bra, jeans, not even a coat. You know, it's just hard. So what do? We wrap her up in love and we give her as much as we can. And in that particular instance, good news story, because she went on to use our career centre and she got a job and she is living here in New Zealand and, you know, moving forward with her life. But that's pretty crazy. The other thing that we've really noticed is the increase in mature women, those around 65 plus, using our service and going back into employment, re-entering employment or needing a higher value job. Lots of reasons, found themselves perhaps in a different situation than they imagined, or facing 60 plus, 70 plus years needing financially to work. So, you know, this is quite a big change from what we've had in the past. So those are the things that we're really noticing now. This is a photo of some of our amazing wahine who bravely put their hands up for our 20th anniversary a couple of years back. Not a single one had been on a stage, not a single one had modelled. They just, like me today, challenged themselves to do something different, and they modelled in front of 150 people, and they came out on the catwalk to Katy Perry's Roar, and it was pretty incredible. But right there in that snapshot, you've got a young woman, 17, starting out. You've got someone who's been severely bullied in the workplace and lacks confidence and needs to start again. You've got a woman wanting to start her own business. And you've got someone who's juggling 3 children as she studies. So another snapshot of who we're looking after, who we're assisting. So what do we do to provide this hope? We have programs and services. The dressing program is all about making sure that the wahine that we see have got the appropriate clothing for whatever situation they're going into. So that could be a court appearance, it could be a job interview, it could be searching for work, it could be moving from transitional or emergency housing into finding some accommodation for the first time. So to front up to a landlord when you're competing with many others, you want to put your best foot forward. You want to feel confident and be confident. We dress women for graduation, attending tangi, confidence boosts, feel good stuff as well. So the dressing program is probably what we've always been more traditionally known for. We also work, as I've already mentioned, with refuges, so we put together aroha packages, which are emergency clothing packages for women who haven't had to leave relationships, basically, without anything. We have the Career Centre, workforce development, one-on-one coaching. We have the work confidence programs and the prison. So back to the prison, because it's a topic quite close to my heart. Personally, for me, it has been the most incredible experience of my quite substantial work life, because it's taught me a lot and changed my perceptions. So I realise now that prison is not keeping them in so much as keeping the world out while they sort themselves out. First time without expectations, kids, partners, without drugs, without alcohol, without a whole lot of other stuff muddling them up. So there's time to pause and think and plan what might be ahead. That's not everyone in there, but that is my experience. So we ran these programs for the last 6 years. Last year we did some work in the remand space, so that's for women who have been sentenced but not charged but not sentenced. And so these were much smaller groups, and it was interesting because we found that the smaller groups of 3 or 4, they told us so much more than the larger groups where they didn't want to share or give much away. And on this one particular occasion, we had a woman there, and we were talking about skills. So, it's about learning skills, technical skills, transferable skills, personal skills. And we said, tell us about a technical skill that you've learned, something you've had to learn. So she said, well, and she told us about how she was a dominatrix, not in this city, in another city. And so that was fascinating to start with. We're listening, and she said, so one of her clients that she'd been seeing for a couple of years was absolutely determined that he wanted to be castrated. And she said, no, that's just a step too far, I'm not really, But he kept coming back and saying, that's actually what I do want. And she said to him, if you talk to your wife and she's all good with it, then, we'll proceed. So he talked to his wife and it was all agreed, and so she had to learn this new technical skill, which involved Google, and she had to send overseas for a technical piece of apparatus to carry out this procedure. And so she did. He had to sign a disclaimer, of course, and there was a nurse outside, and away it went. It all went ahead. And we're just listening, honestly. And there were more stories too, but I haven't got time to tell them tonight. We just threw the whole court, what we were going to cover in that session was completely over. We were much more interested in this. So I've learned a lot. That's just the tip of the iceberg. But yeah, look, the prison is amazing, it's rewarding. I think the one thing that I've really realised is when we put together those CVs, and we talk about CVs, everyone needs a CV for a job, and you might know somebody who helps you put something together. When you put together a CV and they've spent 8 weeks crafting and being brave enough to say what they might be good at, they reflect on what they actually have done previously. The CVs are not just CVs, they're the first time they've got a little written history that's positive about them. One group was so overwhelmed with their CVs, they asked us to laminate them. That's how special they were. So, it's things like that we take for granted that you realise means something quite different to somebody else. We also provide other support services, including mentoring and bits and pieces as well. A quick snapshot of what we've accomplished in the past year, some good stats. I thought numbers were good to use. So we generally see between 500 and 600 wahine per year. I've talked about the emergency clothing packages, the Hope Keepers. Yeah, sometimes I have to report on how much that is in terms of monetary values, so 900,000 in terms of hours, if we translated that, that's a lot. And of course, fun fact, size 8 shoes, most popular. I mean, we all know that, don't we? Size 8's never on sale, is it? It's always those tinsy-wincy, all those big sizes. So, but that's just a wee... I think for me, this role as a keeper of hope, I feel quite privileged to be in this role. I feel privileged to be able to give hope to others and to manage a workforce that is the keepers of hope and encourage them to keep doing what they're doing. There's one saying, or a comment in the evaluation that we had last year that I thought really struck me, and it encapsulated a lot of how women feel. They saw me, now I need to see me. So thanks for listening to all of that, everyone. Any questions?
Is your organisation known, and I mean this in the nicest possible way, to the police?
We work with police in terms of women held in custody who are in the holding cells. So you can be arrested in your pyjamas, and so there's not a lot of dignity being taken into a holding cell without underwear on. So yes, we provide clothing in that capacity.
When is your next pop-up shop?
Oh yes, good question. We have a surplus of donations and we sell these in our pop-up shops. So those of you who are into the pre-loved fantastic sales that we have, jump on, follow us on Facebook. The next one is scheduled for April, so you'll get a date coming up soon. Funders, we raise money from the sale of surplus clothing. We apply for grants. We have a contract with MSD and also with corrections. We have corporate donors and people like you.
Just wondering, what is the typical time commitment for someone who volunteers with your organisation?
Yeah, that's a good question, and it depends what you do. So if you're on that front line working with wahine on a daily basis, we have a different team each day. So we would have 5 on each team, and you would be a member of a team. So each week you would give 4 or 5 hours. But if you're in events, you might just help out at sales or at events on the weekend. So, we try and tailor it around what people can give.
Do you offer support to transgender women?
Yes, we do. So that's quite a big focus for us, and we took our volunteers through, we got Qtopia in to audit us as an organisation. In terms of what we did and how we delivered that service, and then we had training for our volunteers to ensure that that experience was the best experience that it could be. So that's, really important to us.
Any other questions? No. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Give Ginny another round of applause.